There is no sector of education that hasn't been influenced by his intellectual thought, his practical wisdom, and contribution to policy making. Teaching mainly philosophy, education development, education and ethics, Ben worked with or for the universities of Witwatersrand, Natal, Durban, Westphal, Rhodes and Fort Hare. He also worked for development NGOs, the Department of Education at national and provincial levels, the Centre for Education and Policy Development, CEPD, and FET College and SAQA. Nevertheless, as deep is our sense of loss, it is through reflecting on what we've lost that we appreciate Ben's legacy all the more keenly. He demonstrated the power of true scholarship in showing how much we can do for education and democracy, and how we can set about doing it. This precious legacy should not be lost. And we're going to pick up the strands of it in the lecture that Mary is going to deliver now.
I really do miss Ben. And I believe he would have been a really important sounding board in this project of establishing the Department of Higher Education and Training. It's a really important project, and I think that many of the ideas that we're wrestling with are central to what was Ben's last intellectual project. So what I'm going to do is first of all talk a little bit about the Department of Higher Education and Training, some of the key conceptual challenges, and my understanding of how Ben's work is relevant to those challenges. But the real thrust for me today is for us to imagine ourselves in conversation with Ben, because he would have been deeply engaged in these debates, there's no doubt. And I want us to feel that excitement from his work so that we take forward that excitement in what must be a robust debate. To start off with, though, I do want to look at what is the mandate of the Department of Higher Education and Training. As everyone knows, this is a new department. It was established by well, I think the first that anybody knew that there would be two departments and the particular nature of the department was when the minister announced that in April. I know from colleagues in the Department of Education that they'd been puzzled about why the minister was going to split basic and higher, because it's one system. And it was only when the announcement was made that the full ramifications of the President's intentions became clearer. Department of Higher Education and Training took many people by surprise. The substance of what is meant by creating those two ministries really only became clearer when we had the proclamations assigning legislation. And when you look at the legislation that's been assigned to the Minister of Higher Education and Training, there's a range of legislation. It governs universities, FET colleges, adult basic education and training, the NQF, skills development, and that gives us a sense of what is this project that we're developing. So what is clear to me is that the President has envisaged a single post-schooling education and training system that's structured to meet the aspirations of youth and adults. And what post-schooling means is a very interesting question in our society, because we're still grappling with the persistent consequences of apartheid education. And that's evident in an unemployment and inequality and a huge wastage of human potential. We all know that there's too many adults who haven't had the opportunities to achieve anything like their full potential. We all know them, we see them. And we also know that there's many young people who haven't had access to a school-leaving qualification of any value. And we see those young people every day. So in order to address these challenges, there's a range of ideas about what we should be doing in the Department of Higher Education and Training. And it's specifically dense because we need to unpack that density. These are preliminary thoughts. We know that the system of higher education and training has to be supported by an institutional base that is diverse, that is differentiated, as well as at the same time being conceptualized as an integrated and coherent whole. Within that integrated and coherent role, we have to develop meaningful learning pathways across institutional and workplace education and workplace education and training forms. We have to do that. We have to be able to provide support to individuals as they navigate these complex transitions from school, from institution to work, from work to institution, from work to another institution, from institution to work. And those are very complex pathways. As we develop the system, we need to be responsive both to the realities of the aspirations of citizens. Isn't it? Half of our young children between the ages of 18 and 24 are currently unemployed. Those aspirations, as well as the developmental trajectory of the society and of our economy, and to the trajectories of our different knowledge fields, so that all of our human development planning strategies, which are adopted in real partnership and dialogue with social partners, are informed by strategic information management systems and research for a post-school education and training system and labour market. Institutions are going to have to be responsive and relevant to those strategies. Now I know that's dense and I had fun densifying it, because I think that what I would love more than anything, Dan, is to sit with Ben and unpick that, because I can see some people saying, whoa, are you really suggesting that? What about that? This is the task. The task is to now understand this very condensed set of preliminary thoughts. And that's the work of higher education and training, led by the Minister, over the next, let's say, at least a year. And I know that Ben would have been contributing to the search for possibilities and the identification of constraints if he was with us. So let's run through some questions for fun. Maybe just to start off with, what does post-school mean? Especially in the South African context. Have we, those of us who are watching this or participating, really imagined the possibilities and constraints in the new context created by the bringing together of all post-school education and training into one umbrella? Nothing can continue as before. What possibilities exist for new dynamism between industry, both business and labour, and FET colleges? What could be the role of CETAs in mediating that? Should the bands of the NQF narrowly define the qualifications offered by different institutions? Should we have higher education institutions and further education institutions, or not? What might be the learning pathways across workplace FET colleges and our differentiated university system? If we do loosen the NQF bands, do we even need FET colleges anymore? Should they be called something else? Should we be offering higher educational qualifications outside of universities? Should we take the institutional differentiation debate further in much more complex institutions, in localities where demographic realities limit post-secondary access? What kind of institution will serve the needs of people in rural Mpumalanga? Is it a university? Is it an FET? Or is it something between the two? Now, what are the new possibilities now that we have all of these quality assurance bodies falling under the leadership of one minister? Do we need all of the institutional forms created when these functions were spread across two different ministers? And what is vocational education? How does it differ from occupational education? How does it differ from professional education? Can they be separated? So there's 10 million questions for you to think about, and when you have the answers, then you can bring them to us.